We are going to begin this Wednesday morning with the United States launching new airstrikes against Iran. The new attacks were in response to the downing of a U.S. Army Apache helicopter near the coast of Oman. President Trump says the helicopter was shot down while it was patrolling over the Strait of Hormuz. The two crew members were safely rescued. While U.S. Central Command says the strikes were a, quote, proportional response to unjustified Iranian aggression. The cause of the incident remains under investigation this morning. Well, in response, the Iranian foreign minister says Iran will not leave any attack unanswered. According to Iranian state TV, Iran later launched retaliatory attacks against U.S. military targets in Bahrain and Kuwait. Iran's Revolutionary Guard says this footage shows missiles being launched at U.S. bases, but NBC News cannot independently confirm when or where the video was shot. NBC News correspondent Alice Barr joins us from Washington with the latest on all this. Alice, good morning.
Good morning, Savannah. A U.S. official tells NBC News no Americans were hurt in the Iranian strikes overnight that were mostly intercepted, and that the U.S. military struck about 20 targets in Iran, all of it raising serious questions about the tenuous and tested ceasefire and the push for a peace deal. New escalations in the Middle East, with Iran firing missiles at a U.S. base in Jordan overnight and launching drone attacks against American forces in Bahrain and Kuwait, according to Iranian state media. While Iran's Revolutionary Guard claimed attacks against 21 targets across the Gulf in response to American strikes around the Strait of Hormuz. Those strikes followed the downing of a U.S. Army Apache helicopter that President Trump and the military blamed on Iran.
The pilots are fine, yeah. And nobody injured.
While the pilots were safely rescued, the president posted that the U.S. must of necessity respond. House Speaker Mike Johnson explained how.
It's targeted strikes to the radar, missile, and command and control sites, and it is defensive in nature.
U.S. Central Command said overnight the mission was complete and called it a proportional response to unjustified Iranian aggression. And we're learning more about that U.S. helicopter that was patrolling to prevent Iranian attacks on commercial ships when a U.S. official tells NBC News it was hit by an Iranian drone and crashed into the Strait of Hormuz. In a first-of-its-kind rescue, an unmanned U.S. military boat like this one brought them to safety. On Capitol Hill, Democrats raising concerns about what they call a perpetual cycle of retaliation.
A retaliation is going to just set diplomacy back that much further.
Just before the new flare-up, President Trump said the U.S. and Iran were
in the final throes of what will be a very, very good deal.
Now, diplomacy facing another fierce test. And Iran's foreign ministry spokesman said today his country needs to assess the situation before moving ahead with peace talks. Iran is now accusing the U.S. of striking 2 water storage tanks in the new attacks, cutting off drinking water in one area, while a U.S. official tells NBC News Iran has been aggressively launching attack drones toward traffic in the Strait of Hormuz for days. Savannah.
All right, Alice, thank you so much. Well, for more on the war with Iran, let's bring in Colonel Steve Warren. He's an NBC News military analyst, former Pentagon spokesperson, and friend of the show. Colonel Warren, thank you so much. Good morning. So the United States retaliating against Iran in response to the downing of that Apache helicopter. I mean, that comes as no surprise. But let's talk about this back and forth, these responses that we've now seen. Are they proportional? Do you see this as one step on the road to all-out war in the region?
Savannah, good morning. We're on the edge right now, I think. We're in a dangerous, dangerous place. I'm encouraged by the fact that U.S. Central Command is characterizing these as proportional and defensive. That sends a signal, right? Not offensive, but defensive. It's a retaliation. And the Iranians, too, feel like they are retaliating for the American strike. So that's the good news. The bad news, of course, is as we increase the amount of engagement and increase the amount of fire back and forth, the increase in danger is proportional. So we have to be very nervous, very on edge, and keep a very close eye on this.
With all the military hardware in the region, Colonel, I mean, is the back and forth like this almost just inevitable as time drags on with no solution in sight?
Well, there's going to be some of that, right? You know, whenever you have two heavily armed foes standing toe-to-toe like this, there's inevitably going to be some sort of shoving and bumping as these two forces sort of come into contact with one another. I believe that's inevitable. What we've seen over the last 12 hours is a little bit more than sort of the inevitable pushing and shoving that you would see in a ceasefire situation like this.
How damaging do you think this is to potential negotiations on a more permanent ceasefire?
Well, it's certainly not helpful, Savannah. It's not helpful at all. But I think it's really more both sides trying to assert that they remain capable, that they remain ready, and that they are prepared to resume combat operations if these talks don't progress. So in some ways, it's an encouragement to let's get back to the table. Let's keep talking. Let's not forget that we are facing a foe that still has capabilities.
Aside from these attacks that we see right now, one thing happening like the downing of the helicopter and then a response to that, which obviously creates this moment of tension, remind us the wider backdrop that is slowing these talks down when it comes to something like Iran's nuclear program and what we've heard from the president on that.
Well, sure. And that is the largest sticking point in these negotiations is this nuclear question. The Iranians believe that they have an inherent right to develop nuclear weapons, plain and simple. The United States and the rest of the Western world disagrees with that. And that really is the main sticking point. The lesser points, for example, the Strait of Hormuz, I believe that's something that could be worked out. You know, we've done tremendous damage to the Iranian nuclear capabilities already. It seems to me they should be able to work out something in the Strait of Hormuz and then continue talking about the nuclear question going forward.
Colonel, this operation, as we were told anyway at the beginning of this, was supposed to be 4 to 6 weeks or so. We've now passed 100 days. What does that mean for our troops, for military readiness and capabilities?
Well, it certainly puts somewhat of a strain, particularly on the U.S. Navy and to some extent the United States Air Force as well. Keep in mind, only about 10% of the U.S. Navy is directly involved in this operation, so that leaves plenty more naval capability for the U.S. to patrol the rest of the world. All of that said, you know, at the very beginning of this, Savannah, we talked about this conflict being a test of wills. I believe now that it's evolved into a test of patience, right? Who can last the longest and get to a deal without going back to full-scale combat operations.
Colonel, always great to have you with us. Thanks for your time. Well, in Maine, the stage is now set for a Senate seat battle this November that could have national importance. Oyster farmer and veteran Graham Platner secured the Democratic Senate nomination despite a series of scandals. Now, he's denied some allegations, but just acknowledged overnight that he's, quote, made mistakes that I regret. He will face 5-term Republican Senator Susan Collins this fall in a high-stakes Senate race that's already shaping up to be a bruising battle.
She serves Donald Trump. She serves the Epstein class. She serves her corporate donors. She does not serve us, and so we will defeat Susan Collins.
Now, the November race is a must-win for Democrats looking to regain control of the upper chamber. As you can see, we've got NBC News senior national political reporter Sahil Kapoor joining us now from Washington with more on this and also other state primary election results, including some that have been being counted for about a week now. Sahil, good morning. So let's start there in Maine and with Platner. First, remind us the scandals for anybody who might not know exactly what it is here that he's facing, and then tell us how it is that it seems he's been able to overcome some of that with voters.
Yeah, Savannah. So on the controversies, first, there's the chest tattoo that Mr. Platner said he drunkenly got many years ago with fellow Marines, not realizing it had Nazi associations. He recently had that covered. There are old Reddit posts on an array of subjects that were very controversial. He has addressed those, said it was a dark period, and that he's a better person now. More recently, there are allegations reported in the New York Times from 3 ex-girlfriends who he dated from his 20s to his early 30s. 2 of them say he drank a lot. He was a bad boyfriend. This he accepts. A third woman says he got rough with her at times, like grabbing her by the shoulders or yanking her by the wrist out of a car. This he firmly denies, and his campaign has noted that this particular woman is a conservative operative. Now, why is is he resonating? Platner has a populist outsider message that is connecting with many voters on the ground there. He's running on taxing the wealthy, universal health care, raising the minimum wage, getting money out of politics, fundamentally upending the system. And he argues that he should not be defined by things in his past. Take a listen.
If you believe, as I do, that we can change our politics and change our country, then you must also believe that people can change. And the reason I believe that is because I have lived it.
And in that same speech, Savannah, he really laced into Senator Collins as a puppet of a corrupt establishment who he's taking on. Her campaign responded, telling me in a statement last night that Mainers are not looking for angry speeches riddled with lies, as they put it, that Mainers are looking for results. Of course, this is going to be a vitally important race for Democrats. There is no real path to them flipping the 4 seats they need to win the Senate majority if they can't flip the blue state of Maine.
No kidding. All right, let's talk about another one. Sahil, South Carolina, top Trump ally. Senator Lindsey Graham, he won his GOP Senate primary. He would be seeking a 5th term here. Tell us about this race and other important ones in that state.
Yeah, that's right. Senator Graham handily won renomination to another term. He's going to face Democrat Annie Andrews, who's a pediatrician, calls him a swamp creature and a warmonger. Graham is going to be a heavy favorite here in the red state of South Carolina. Also in the state, the governor's race had its primary. There was a bit more anticipation around this. The Republicans will see a runoff between the Trump-backed Pamela Yvette and Alan Wilson, the son of sitting Congressman Joe Wilson. Also notable here is that 2 other sitting Republican members of the House, Ralph Norman and Nancy Mace, got knocked out. They didn't even make it to the top 2, and they gave up their House seats to run for this. They will not be coming back to Congress, and the winner here will face the Democrat Jermaine Johnson. Again, the Republicans are going to be heavy favorites in this state.
All right, Sahil, let's head to California. We are still watching vote count here. It's been more than a week since Election Day. We do have some big news, though, on the governor's race. Walk us through this. It's on our screens right now.
Absolutely. So the Democratic nominee, Javier Becerra, this was projected some time ago he would advance. We now know who his opponent will be. That is Steve Hilton, the Republican, former Fox News host, backed by President Trump. He's a British immigrant to the United States, previously worked for the Tory Prime Minister David Cameron. He defeated Tom Steyer for that 2nd spot to advance to the runoff. Steyer's a billionaire. He spent more than $200 million of his own money trying to win this race. He had a moment, but ultimately petered out, and Javier Becerra caught fire at the right time. Steyer will not make the runoff. It will be a race for the next governor of California to replace Gavin Newsom between Becerra and Hilton. Becerra, as a Democrat in that blue state, is going to be a heavy, heavy favorite this fall.
All right, Sahil Kapoor, thank you so much. Well, in Texas on Tuesday, 19-year-old Karmelo Anthony was found guilty and sentenced to 35 years in prison for the stabbing death of a fellow student athlete. His sentence came down just hours after a jury unanimously convicted him of murdering 17-year-old Austin Metcalf at a Dallas area track meet last year. NBC News correspondent Ryan Chandler has a look at the verdict in a case that's become a national flashpoint.
Emotions boiling over outside the courthouse. Protesters in each other's faces, some openly weeping. And for others, relief that justice was served.
You think this is justice for Austin?
I believe so.
As a Texas jury finds 19-year-old Karmelo Anthony guilty of murder for stabbing 17-year-old Austin Metcalf at a high school track meet last year.
You will never disrespect a black woman like that.
Numerous witnesses said Anthony instigated the confrontation, the prosecution calling his actions unjustified and intentional, telling the jury, you don't get to meet a shove with a stab, especially if you provoke the shove. In closing arguments Tuesday, the defense again tried to portray Metcalf as the aggressor, that he made physical contact first, and Anthony defended himself in a split second of chaos. What was it like?
What was it like?
When the verdict was read.
I feel like it was designed to protect white people, the system, and it was not designed to protect black people. It's self-defense.
Supporters of Anthony have raised concerns for a fair trial after no black people were seated on the jury. Inside the courtroom, tears from both families. Anthony's mother described as weeping, later asking the court to please have mercy on my son. Ryan Chandler, NBC News.
For more, let's bring in NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalos. Danny, good morning. So, the jury deliberated. It was really just 3 hours yesterday before delivering this unanimous guilty verdict for murder. And then hours later, in sentencing, he was handed this 35-year sentence. Were you surprised by any of this?
Not at all. Certainly as to the speed that the jury came back, there's this public misperception that juries take days, even weeks to deliberate. They really don't. On the whole, it's not uncommon for them to return a verdict in one day, especially if that day is Friday or the day before a vacation. It wasn't in this case, but juries generally don't take as long. And there really weren't many issues in this case that I saw. No surprise.
Karmelo Anthony did not take the stand in his own defense in what was a self-defense trial. How do you think that impacted the jury?
It was the right choice for the defense, and here's why. You're talking about a 17-year-old defendant going up against a seasoned prosecutor with all the rules of evidence on his side. And then you add to that the fact that in Texas, the burden is on the prosecution to disprove self-defense. So that was the major reason why they would not have put him on the stand, because they already had a presumption in his favor. Putting a 17-year-old on the stand, it might have gone horribly, horribly wrong.
What do you make of the concern that was just raised there in Ryan's piece about the makeup of the jury?
I make of it that there is no constitutional requirement that you have a certain number of black or white people on a jury. The Supreme Court has said that the only limitation is that when you use your peremptory challenges, now these are a certain number of challenges we lawyers get where we can strike someone for the jury for any reason at all. But the Supreme Court said long ago there is one exception. You can't eliminate people based on their race. It's called a Batson challenge. But here's the thing. I've been Batson challenged. You know what you do? You look down at your notes and you come up with any other reason in the universe to exclude that juror, and then that is a constitutional reason. So, yes, there are protections against that, but the mere fact that there was an all-white jury is not by itself a constitutional violation unless black jurors were excluded because they were black.
And does that mean also not grounds for an appeal?
Oh, no, they'll certainly appeal it. And by the way, they raised the Batson challenge, so they can bring that up on appeal. It's preserved. I don't know that it'll make it very far, because the reporting that I read, I understand that the reason those jurors were excluded was because they worked in school or in the school district or something like that. That sounds like a legitimate, non-racially motivated reason, but that'll be up to the appellate court, that and whatever other appellate issues they want to raise.
The other thing I want to ask you about is the defense asked the jury to consider that Anthony carried out this attack under the terminology was sudden passion.
Yep.
What does that mean legally speaking, and how did that go?
Passion is not a defense to the guilt phase of the trial. Passion is really, in Texas, more of a mitigation at sentencing. And what it does, if they find it, it actually drops the punishment down to 2 to 20 years. A major difference, because you see you got 35 years. But here's the thing. Passion is an objective test. So in other words, you can't say, oh, I felt like I was in the heat of passion. The jury would have been instructed that you have to consider someone of an ordinary temper. That's the language the statute uses. And that's where the prosecution usually wins, is that they say, would a person of ordinary temper have responded the way this defendant did? And that's what makes it a difficult burden for the defendant. And by the way, at this stage, the burden shifts to the defendant. He has to prove that passion. So I'm not surprised that he was not successful there.
All right. Danny Savalos, thank you so much. Well, a man in Florida is lucky to be alive this morning after fighting off an attack by a shark. Authorities say he was severely injured after the shark struck him and another swimmer at a marina off the Florida Panhandle Monday morning. NBC News correspondent Steve Patterson has more.
The violent shark attack caught on camera. A man spotted fighting for his life, blood in the water, and harrowing pleas for help. It happened at a naval facility in Panama City Monday morning.
Shark attack out at the Navy base.
Authorities say 2 staff members went for a swim in the nearby recreational marina when the shark struck, attacking one of the men, severely injuring both of his arms.
Have you got the person out of the water? No, the person I think is still in the water.
First responders rushing the man to a local hospital. A naval commander saying their actions were critical.
We continue to have the safety of all our personnel paramount in all of the operations that we do on board the base.
Look at it. Oh my gosh.
The attack comes during a string of similar shark sightings.
Oh my gosh.
From a nature trail in Brooklyn
Wow, that's sick.
to a fisherman hooking a great white in Nantucket.
Yeah.
Authorities say that naval staff member in Florida is now recovering from surgery. Steve Patterson, NBC News.
Oh, wow, that is some video there. Millions of people across the Midwest are on alert for more extreme weather this morning after Tuesday brought another round of severe storms, heavy rains, and flash flooding. In Indiana, rescue crews in boats raced to evacuate people trapped by the fast-rising floodwaters. And in Kansas, powerful winds topped more than 100 miles per hour, pushing cars off roads and into ditches. NBC News correspondent Maggie Vespa has the latest.
Chilling new video of a truck turned on its side by flash floodwaters in southern Indiana. Watch as the driver tumbles out of the vehicle into the rushing water.
One just jumped out.
And look at this, what appears to be a propane tank spewing gas as it's swept away. Rescue boats deployed as residents race to evacuate. The deluge swallowing trucks and tractors and leaving this baseball field totally submerged.
We've lived here 25 years. Never seen it like this.
A powerful system tearing through Kansas, bringing hurricane-force winds with gusts topping 100 miles per hour. One driver miraculously uninjured after she was blown off the highway. High winds in New Mexico whipping up walls of dust, blinding drivers. While back east, the flood threat isn't over as more storms slam the region.
We're scared, we're nervous, but we got to clean up now and hope it doesn't come back.
Maggie Vespa, NBC News.
Let's get you more details now on these severe storms that are expected from the Central Plains to the Great Lakes. We've got our morning news now forecast with meteorologist Rafael Miranda. Raf, good morning.
Hey there, Savannah. Good morning again. Unfortunately, we're dealing with that severe weather threat for the next several days. Dangerous weather. Even this morning, we've had severe storms moving through parts of Wisconsin and Minnesota. Very heavy rain there. Let's talk about the threat today. It's a bit farther east than it was yesterday, now including Chicago up towards Green Bay. 36 million at risk for severe storms later on this afternoon. A few strong tornadoes a possibility as well, but winds will be the main threat today. And you can see, we could see winds gusting over 75 miles per hour. I would expect high impact storms and significant travel delays. If you're heading towards the Midwest later on today, watch out for that. Also hail a possibility there. Then we look at tomorrow, 103 million at risk for severe storms. That's because we're including the New York City metro down towards Philly and D.C., but also, again, Chicago and nearby cities dealing with that threat for strong tornadoes. That's tomorrow afternoon, so no break there. And then again, Friday, it's the northeast turn as that cold front finally slides east. From Philly, D.C., New York City could see strong to severe thunderstorms. Wind damage will be the main threat on Friday. Tornado risk, thankfully, is low. Because of all the storms, lots of rain coming our way. That could also be an issue. Several inches of rain a possibility in places like the Midwest. And we're highlighting that flood risk today. Flash flooding a possibility in Chicago. So you get the idea. It's going to be a very active weather day there. And I would watch out for those delays. Again, focusing on Friday for a minute, 61 million at risk. That includes New York City up to Albany and down towards D.C. and Virginia. This could be a quite active, severe weather day. We have the heat building ahead of a cold front. Speaking of heat, the humidity comes back today, Savannah, here in the Northeast, but temperatures start to sizzle tomorrow, back into the 90s, and Friday, it's going to feel like triple digits in places like New York City and D.C. and Philly. It's going to be a sweltering finish to the work week, and it stays hot into the weekend as well.
Oh, boy. All right, Raph, thanks so much.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.